NBA All-Star Game this Sunday.
Here's Curry behind the back, half-court heave on its way, and he hits it!
Coverage begins Sunday at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
All them dogs are counting down, about to put the anchor down. Hotty toddy, who's it gonna be? Cowbells and swamp, the Aggies wrong. There's nothing like the SEC. The weekend's full of surprise.
Hit him with the flex.
From Williams Bikes to Death Valley. On the Finebaum Show, Paul's on the roll. If he don't get the best of me, call Paul.
Alabama.
It's your show. Go ahead.
He'll make sense of it all.
You got a damn burn crappy attitude.
Needles up on Rocky Top. The Razorbacks are hard to stop. War Eagles soaring in the wind.
Let me talk, Tammy.
Okay, go!
Tigers rocking in the zoo. Wildcats are grinning too. Talk about the tide that's rolling in. The weekend's full of surprises. From big upsets to robberies. On the Finebaum Show, heads are gonna roll. If they don't get the best of me, we'll call Paul. He'll make sense of it all.
I really don't know where to go after that.
Don't take those calls.
I could give you my address and phone number if you're ever in this neck of the woods.
In my life, I've never had a phone call like that. We welcome you to Thursday. Glad you were with us on a busy afternoon. Much to do. A lot of guests to arrive here, and some shortly. Some good callers already on hold. Thanks for being with us. Let's get to some headlines right this minute. Hogs, biggest win of the year, upsetting South Carolina on the road. Big win for Coach Anderson. Big win for the Razorbacks as they get ready to make a run. Jeff Goodman tweeting. That's a huge win. And for Mike Anderson, Razorbacks just beat South Carolina on the road. Resume win, maybe job saving. Meanwhile, are Gamecock fans starting to sense deja vu all over again? Meanwhile, 19 SEC road wins under Mike Anderson, 5 more than Razorbacks had in the previous 10 years. There has been some chatter about his job. I suspect and hope last night will dissipate some of that. In other news, John Calipari grabs another possible recruiting edge as coach of the U.S. basketball U19s. Always looking to improve his stock with young talent. This might just be the one. Meanwhile, Jalen Hurd will make a visit to Louisville this weekend. He was once a Heisman candidate, and then he was gone from Rocky Top. Brian DeBall. Yes, I said that correctly. Expected to be the next possible candidate for Alabama's offensive coordinator. That is according to multiple reports. He is currently the tight ends coach of the New England Patriots. Is this a sign that Nick Saban is going back to his comfort zone? Is it a bad sign for Jalen Hurts? Speaking of Saban, Blake Barnett insinuates Nick Saban gave him a negative reputation at Alabama. Barnett was the starter at the SC game, according to Barnett, now at Arizona State. A lot of backlash that I received from the SC game was that I came out nervous. I think you could ask just about every teammate, and they'd agree that I wasn't. But a certain coach, Nick Saban, went out to the media and said that I was, and so I got that negative reputation. So Blake Barnett taking shots at Nick Saban on his way out of Dodge. Man, hard to believe somebody would take a shot at Nick Saban. 855-242-7285. That's still the number here. Big show on tap tonight. Let's tell you who is going to join us, and Andy Katz will be up front and center. Did he get the invite to the White House to do the bracket with President Trump? We will give you the answer shortly. Good friend of ours, John U. I have no earthly idea what the U stands for. Bacon, New York Times bestselling author, University of Michigan graduate. We'll talk about Jim Harbaugh and the latest controversy with Michigan. Jerry Palm on how much Arkansas's win helped the Razorbacks, and could South Carolina be revisiting last year when they were in such good shape and then lost down the stretch, including a costly SEC tournament loss, second home loss in a matter of a week for the Gamecocks, and it was a tough loss. They're still in good shape. They just need to start winning again. 855-242-7285. Let's get to the calls. And William is up next, or first, I should say, from South Carolina. Hello, William.
Hey, Paul. How you doing?
We are doing great.
We're talking about the South Carolina basketball program. Even though I'm a Clemson fan, I am impressed with what Coach Martin is doing there. I mean, what do you think, on your opinion, do they have to do to become a finisher this year?
Well, they have to make shots at the end of games. This is a second straight week. South Carolina has come back and had a chance and then just let it go and let it slip away. They also have to defend better. We'll talk to Andy Katz about that in just a few minutes. Meanwhile, also some news from college basketball today. Mark Godfrey, who was fired in 2008, in February, I believe, as the Alabama basketball coach, was let go earlier today, just a few minutes ago, in Raleigh at NC State. So Godfrey now out of work, looking for another job. He will finish the season. Not that really is good news for NC State, considering the way they played last night. Let's get some more phone calls here. And Connor is in Oxford, Mississippi. Hello, Connor. Good afternoon to you.
Hey, Paul. How we doing?
Okay, thank you.
What do we think about this whole Saban and Barnett quarterback, kind of Barnett taking shots at Saban?
Well, I mean, I think what he's doing is just simply getting back at Saban for saying what Saban, talking about what Saban said after the SC game. I don't think it's a big deal. Anything with Nick Saban seems to be a big deal, but Saban cracked at him. He cracked back. Once you're out of Saban's web, I've heard this before from coaches, many privately. Rarely do you hear somebody say this publicly, but what does it really mean?
Yeah, I think he just kind of needs to keep his mouth shut a little bit. Barnett.
Well, it's a free country, and if you want to respond to a question or say something, why not say it? Saban took a shot at him. He responded.
Yep. All right.
Big
thank
deal.
you, Paul.
I mean, what's the big deal? I mean, really. Certainly Saban didn't help him by saying what he did, and Blake Barnett said what he did. But when you basically lose your job, it's like the situation in Louisiana with the high school coach 3 years after the fact, saying he's not going to let Nick Saban into his high school. Well, big deal. These things don't matter much. Cumulatively, they add up, and anything with Nick Saban seems to be a big headline. But I don't think Blake Barnett saying anything about anything other than what he's doing at Arizona State is going to matter. And by the way, he's getting good reviews out there. He really is. Let's move along. And Charlie is in Memphis. You are on the air. Hello, Charlie.
Hey, Paul. It's always a great show you got there, man.
Thank you.
I got a bunch to say and just a little money to spend today. You told me take a nap on Valentine's Day. And
you called in. You called in and didn't make any sense. And Charlie, 30 seconds into this call, you're threatening to repeat that.
No, I just want to call without any interruption or hanging up and make my point. Is that all right?
Well, Charlie, it's always all right when you call a show like this and say something that is coherent, has clarity, and makes sense. I'm not trying to tell you what to say or not to say, but I am encouraging you to, when you call, get to a point at some point in time, like maybe in the first 5 minutes of the call.
Okay, can I go now?
Go.
Your show's the best variety sports talk show on the air, period. You have a wide variety of guests, your speakers, your coaches, and, of course, your callers and your listeners. and you have people who should, and you have those who shouldn't call in. So I'm just going to PG this and not mention any names.
By the way, you're welcome to say whatever you want. We don't censor people here.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I've been blindsided.
Who should not call in this show? Give me a name.
Oh, Jim from Tuscaloosa for one.
So why should Jim not call in this show?
Because, I mean, he don't ever talk anything but racist stuff and hypocrite and political. I mean, let me finish my thing, Paul, and then you can say whatever you want.
I'm listening.
Hello?
Listen, you've been on the air the whole time, Charlie. Go right ahead and say whatever you want to say.
Okay. You know, you got your favorites, you got your lovers, you got your haters, you got sleepers and all types of varieties, Paul.
This sounds like a song here.
It's my opinion, and this is what your show's all about, Paul? Opinions. It's my opinion that there's only good people and there's bad people. You got good callers and you got bad ones. Mm-hmm. And a long time ago, I was appointed ambassador to the state of Alabama. So as an Alabamian, if you hate something so bad that it consumes you, and you got people that just hate, you're just, you're a hater and you're racist. If you say and you do something on one day, then you say and do something on another day, you're a hypocrite. And to me, Paul, and this was my point the other day about a sleeper, it's a dark horse. It's an underdog. It's someone who rises up to occasions and plays their best. And sometimes they find themselves in a championship. And, Paul, you know the favorites and the not-so-favorites in the SEC. I just believe the sleeper should come from the knots. And I got one final thought to say, and then I'm going to let you go, just like Bobby from Birmingham used to. I've seen many varieties of games where on any given day, the best team or the best player they get beat.
Thanks for the earth-shattering information there, Charlie. A little better than yesterday. Still not up to snuff. We will take a break. Your phone calls continue at 855-242-7285. Andy Katz will drop by, talk about the news that has been speculated for a couple of days about Mark Gottfried, a couple of other subjects, and we'll ask Andy Katz if he has a trip scheduled in 4 weeks to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. If you remember, he has been at the White House, I think, every year in the last 8 or 9, visiting with President Obama, filling out the bracket. Is Donald Trump, who obviously likes the media, he spent an hour and a half giving a news conference today, will he invite Andy in? Or will he say, Andy, get lost? But we're inviting Andy in right now. And we are now back on the entire network, including our national radio audience, Andy Katz. So what's going on with Mark Gottfried?
Well, he's out at NC State. This was just announced by the school within the last hour. Mm-hmm. He went to Athletic Director Debbie Yao and asked to finish the rest of the regular season. He had a brutal defeat last night to North Carolina. Both games against North Carolina got pummeled. What's interesting is since they won at Duke
this year,
they're 0-6. And point differential of minus 19. They've given up 91.5 points a game in those 6 losses since they knocked off Duke.
Wow. That's quite a feat, being fired at both Alabama and NC State.
Yes.
And by the way, this was once a very hot coach.
Yes.
He was at Murray. He was an assistant under Herrick at UCLA.
Won national championship in 95.
This is somebody that at one time looked like he got to the Elite 8 at Alabama.
Yes, got them to be number 1 in the country.
Do
you remember that?
In the country. Immediately lost the next game to Utah, but they were number 1 for a week.
So, look, at NC State, he was able to recruit at a high level. Has Dennis Smith right now, who will likely be a top 5 NBA draft pick, sensational talent. But for whatever reason, the pieces didn't always fit. They had some good runs in the NCAA tournament, but it was always sort of this late surge. Like they had to get hot late. Never consistent throughout the course of the season. I think that's what dogged him. But I will say this. I mean, you live now in the state of North Carolina. What NC State craved and needed is they needed a coach in the triangle that had a little bit of bravado, a little brashness. And he brought that. He wasn't afraid of Coach K or Roy Williams. Herb Sendek, Sidney Lowe, much more reserved, a little bit more introverts. So in that sense, Godfrey delivered because he was outspoken. He was challenging. But the consistency and just getting pummeled by North Carolina just doesn't help.
Is there any place else for him?
Besides here next to you?
I mean, obviously he
worked at ESPNU before.
Yeah.
This predated the SEC network.
And he was good on television.
Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not hiring him, but I'm just saying.
You think television?
Yeah, I could definitely see it. And especially here because obviously he used to coach in the SEC. So I'm just throwing out that lifeline.
I will make a prediction. A year from today, he'll be co-hosting Katz's Corner with you.
You think so?
Yeah. Okay, let me get to the really big news. How many consecutive years have you been at the White House with President Obama doing the bracket?
8, because he was president for 8 years.
Was he the first? Was that the first time you had done it with President Obama, or had you done it previously?
With another president?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Remember, I've told you this story before.
Okay.
I came up with the idea in October of 2008.
Okay.
10 days before the election when I interviewed him in Dunn, North Carolina at a Hampton Inn while he was on his way to Fort Bragg.
Right. Okay. Sorry, I forgot.
All right.
So 8 straight years, and the question I ask of you is this. We're, 3-4 weeks away from Selection Sunday. Will you or will you not be sitting down with President Trump at the White House doing the bracket?
Did you not see the news yesterday?
I don't get any. I don't believe anything I read in the paper, particularly the Washington Post. I saw something.
Yes, it was in the Washington Post.
It might be fake news.
It was not fake news.
So I didn't read it.
I was in communication with Hope Hicks, who is the communications director for President Trump, worked for the Trump Organization prior to that, obviously worked with him on the election campaign. I reached out on behalf of ESPN to see if there was interest in doing a bracket and continuing the tradition. I was not optimistic based on the facts that I've said before on this show and others, which is that he's not really into basketball, not into college basketball. Not that you can't be.
This is a rather long answer. Yes or no? You're going to see
No, I'm not going.
Okay.
And he took a pass on it, which I'm not surprised.
So he basically told you to blow off.
No, not interested in that, but might be interested in other opportunities was the way it was phrased.
What to do what? Talk about Russia or something?
Well, no, I mean, look, you could do a golf thing. You could certainly do something with the NFL. We'll see.
So he may do something, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he plays golf all the time. He's got golf courses all over the world.
He may sit around the
He actually said earlier today that when he was playing golf in Mar-a-Lago this past weekend, I guess it was this past weekend with the Japanese Prime Minister, Abe, that Ernie Els was in his foursome.
He was.
So
he may do the interview at at the Jones cabin, the Butler cabin, for maybe it may interview.
Yeah, with the Masters.
Yeah.
I mean, what I've said before, and I'll say this consistently again. Okay. Even if Hillary had won, I didn't think it would work.
Okay.
Because for television purposes, you want to have a good conversation about it.
Yeah.
And if you're not into it, you're not interested, that it might not work. And that's why.
Do you take this personally?
No, not at all.
That Donald Trump,
not at all,
the leader of the free world,
no,
the president of the United States,
it was a good run,
has told you, Andy Katz,
it was a good run.
No,
it was. I'm
not sitting down with you.
No, it was not. No, he didn't yell at me. I did not speak with him. So it was conveyed to me he just wasn't interested in this particular project. I would not be surprised if he would come on your show.
I think that could happen.
Why not?
I have some relationships.
I'm sure you know his new attorney general.
I do. I know him very well.
Okay.
Okay. Meanwhile, the North Carolina governor, who is new, Roy Cooper.
Yes.
Told you in an interview
yesterday on Capital Games, our podcast that I do with Rick Klein of ABC News. You are a friend of the show. You've been on it many times.
I love the show. So what did this is a big deal because this very weekend, the NBA All-Star Game was supposed to be in Charlotte, North Carolina. A lot of NCAA games have moved. The ACC championship game moved. What did the governor tell you?
Well, he said that he wants to repeal it, HB2, excuse me. Better known as sort of the bathroom bill.
Right.
very controversial, very polarizing,
Texas
obviously, in the
is talking
state.
about it right now.
So he said he wants it repealed by the end of February because the NCAA is meeting over the next month to go over championship sites for all its sports for 2018 to 2022. And they're going to divvy them up. And he said that there were 133 championship potential site bids over that period, and North Carolina had a number of potential opportunities for that in various sports. Didn't want to lose that opportunity. The problem is he's not, this is his words here, he said he's not getting the kind of reception he would like from the legislature, from the General Assembly. He said he has offered a compromise to actually strengthen any kind of crimes that would be committed in bathrooms. At the same time, he did say that there was no data that said that someone who was transgender had committed any kind of crimes in the state. But he said he was willing to put that in to strengthen, if that did happen by anyone in a bathroom, that they would strengthen that. Also mentioned that cities, because remember this started with an ordinance in the city of Charlotte.
This was a Charlotte local issue. Yeah.
Would have to give them a 30-day notice that they were going to do an ordinance. Okay. But he said at this point he's not getting any kind of reception for the compromise or a repeal in general. So he threw out a deadline that you got to do this by the end of February. Now, Mike Krzyzewski's been outspoken, Roy Williams, there's been student athletes in the state. So clearly, from the sports
Even Michael
world,
Jordan has talked about it.
You know, they want this gone because they want the business back in the state.
Right.
If they lose this window of opportunity, then North Carolina essentially becomes what South Carolina was with the Confederate flag, where championship events wouldn't be held in the state of South Carolina until the flag came down, which it did. And now the Greensboro, North Carolina regional will be in Greenville, South Carolina, across the border in the state, because now they can have it in South Carolina. So it's a hot topic issue. And look, with the ACC football championship game, they moved it to Orlando. I think maybe they felt like they had a home in Charlotte. But at this juncture, my gut is it probably would go back to Orlando unless something changes. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. Let's get some basketball questions here before you have to go. Kentucky is playing better.
I mean, I'm just curious, though. You don't think it'll be repealed?
I don't
what do you
think it's going to be repealed, no.
Okay. Just wanted to get your opinion, that's all, on the record. Kentucky's playing some of its best basketball of the season. 3 of the last 4 halves. The only second half against Alabama, which was a good win at Alabama. They didn't play as well defensively. But Cal even said after their game Tuesday when they knocked off Tennessee that it's as good a defensive effort as they've had since the beginning of the season. So that's very positive. Arkansas, which I had been critical on this show about.
Yeah, I mean, you are aware, Andy, Arkansas plays basketball.
Yes. I had been critical of Arkansas because they didn't have that name resume win. Well, they got it at South Carolina relative to this season because South Carolina, Florida, and Kentucky are the 3 best teams in the SEC. So I feel better about Arkansas.
What about
by the way, on your show, I still get hammered for that comment about the fan base at Auburn. Yeah. And I was just dealing with that one Auburn-Alabama game. I'm just for the record.
Listen, Andy.
Okay.
You got to move
I know
on.
Arkansas and Florida have
what about
great
Florida?
fan support.
They took a really bad injury this week.
Yeah, losing John Abunu really hurts them because even though they have depth, maybe not as well at that position, and they've been trending in the right direction, over the last month. Been playing great, like a team that you could see go to the Final Four. So that really hurts them, losing him. And it's an unfortunate trend because we've seen that this season where some of these teams, whether it's Creighton, Xavier, now Florida, Indiana, schools that have had good wins and looked really good, have had a pretty major injury to suffer a setback.
Andy Katz, you can always catch his podcast on Capital
Games, Courtside with Katz and Coach G, Katz Corner, ESPNU,
you got a bunch of
Up
podcasts.
in Raps.
I see you all the time on ESPN.
Right.
Man. You're like.
Well, but you're a daily presence on College Football Live, though. Yeah. I mean, every day, or SportsCenter now that it's a little bit of hiatus.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to keep up with the Katzes.
Katz calls, hashtag.
Great stuff.
Thank you.
Andy, see you next week.
All right.
We'll be right back. You're back with us here on this Thursday afternoon. I-Man, what's up?
Good afternoon, Paul.
Hi there.
You got to have a fiddle in the band. Great song.
Alabama.
you know, Paul, you and I have been talking on the radio for many years now,
yes,
and it's easy to say, and it's correct to say, I'm the longest continuous caller since I've been listening to your show. From the people I met before me, they have gone by the wayside for various reasons. They've died, they've quit, they've moved on. But, you know, I bet a lot of those people, that core group, are still listening to your program. And, you know, you're familiar with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Sure.
Jack Nicholson got there because he was
Jack Nicholson.
He was committed there. And see, that's me and you. We're both Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson A, Jack Nicholson B. You're Paul. I'm my man, and we're committed, and we're here. No particular time frame. No, we don't know the distance, but one thing's for sure: I know that you're going to be there, and you know that I'm going to be here. And like Jack Nicholson, when he was sitting around in that group, all of a sudden he realized all those people could leave. It was voluntarily. And he said, "You can leave?" And he thought they was all like him and you, me, committed. We're stuck here for a while. But they could leave. And I was listening to the guy from Memphis. And we're all
He was clearly not walking in Memphis with his feet,
no, he was not
with
walking.
his feet 10
and
feet off
he's certainly
the bill.
not the Chuck Berry song. And what is it, 400,000 people in Memphis? If there is,
what's the other one?
Give me 900. You know,
Give me Memphis, Tennessee. Who did that song?
Who said that?
Remember the song "Give Me Memphis, Tennessee"?
Oh yeah, that was Chuck Berry, and Johnny Rivers had a big hit.
Johnny Rivers.
Yeah, and but when I was listening to his call, I was trying to figure out where we're going here, and the Rolodex is flipping.
Well, the problem with that guy is his calls never go anywhere.
No, and you know what? As the Rolodex is flipping, it ended up and it stopped abruptly on Johnny Cash's song, you know, about building that car a piece at a time, you know, one of these things. Because that's what that call was, a piece at a time. And he applauded you for being diverse and all those things. And then he said something about people being hypocritical. Then he became hypocritical talking about other people and their topics. That is correct, Conrad. You bring a topic to the table.
Yeah, exactly.
Did he have a topic other than he wanted to talk about something about a sleeper thing? He's really trying to drive that sleeper point. And I tell you, that's the thing that I would encourage him to do. Instead of, why don't you just be yourself? And if you're going to be crazy,
and
be
you know that would apply to
you can be.
That would apply to everyone, I mean, including you. Rich is in Honolulu. Hello, Rich. Thank you for the call. Good afternoon.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for taking the call. I have a question regarding Alabama football. Basically, they've had a lot of success in the last few years under Saban. Do you think that healthy Bo Scarborough and some consistency at offensive coordinator will make them like favorite to win the championship?
Well, I mean, listen. Here's a team that's come within a hair of winning 3 straight championships and 5 of the last 8. So
exactly.
I don't. I mean, it's always dangerous to change the direction when you had a 14-point lead in a national championship game that would have completed a 15-0 season. So it's hard to answer that question. Anytime you bring in somebody new, and it's obvious Saban does not like the fact that his defense is put on the field too long in these epic games, and he's going to go back to the way he was doing things originally. I mean, it's worked both ways.
Yeah, agree totally with that.
It's really a matter of what he feels comfortable with, and I don't think he feels comfortable with the way things are going, being a defensive-minded coach. Thank you very much. Glad you called. How about Kevin in South Carolina? Hello, Kevin.
Hi, Paul. How are you? Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you very much.
I have 2 questions, actually, for you. One is, over the years that you've been following college football, who, in your opinion, is the greatest college football player you have ever seen?
It's an interesting question because you can come up with a lot of answers from any side of the ball.
You certainly can.
I will tell you the most exciting player I have watched in terms of impacting his team, and it has nothing to do with my relationship with him, but I would say in the modern era, which would be more recently than not, Tim Tebow has been the most exciting player I've ever seen.
Well, yeah, sure. 2 national championships and what he's done as a leader.
He was just, he did all of that. And now, again, I can't go back to the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s and try to offer an opinion.
No, I was just asking who you have seen.
But Tebow would be my answer. And again, I mean, you could find a defensive player, you could find an offensive lineman if you understood the position.
Sure.
I mean, there have been offensive linemen that never gave up a sack in their entire college career. That's pretty remarkable.
It is. I'd like to just let you know who mine was over the years, and I've been following college football. And like I told you, I was normally from northern New Jersey, where college football is not that big, but I followed it a long time. Mine favorite was Herschel Walker.
He would be in my conversation.
I look back at some of these stories, SEC stories, and going back and looking at some of the footage he had. I remember watching him live when they won a national championship in 1980, I think it was.
It was, yeah. Herschel's, every time I say this, I said this in front of Bo Jackson, but Herschel's
he's up there too.
Herschel's the best running back I've ever seen. Bo is next.
I agree. And I have one more question, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Of all the places all the stadiums and campuses you've been to, what is the most exciting stadium that you've been? Would you say, or you would advise someone to go experience?
Well, I'll tell you from a personal standpoint, the one that made the impression on me the first time I went was Notre Dame, because I had never been there, and it was just the walking on that campus, walking in that stadium, had a profound effect on me.
Okay. I was just curious to see what your, opinion on that was.
Now, I mean, when you answer something like that, it's not intended to insult any other stadium. I mean, there are so
I didn't want you to do that either. I
will tell you, the first time I went to Happy Valley at Penn State, it was so cool because of the setting there with the mountains. I mean, sometimes the Rose Bowl, the first time I went there, I had that. Here you are on this sun-swept January day, and there's the San Gabriel Mountains in the background. I mean, I look at stuff like that. I mean, I've been to off-brand stadiums where you had a frenzied feeling, a frenzied atmosphere. But those are three, and maybe because I go to SEC stadiums every week, I'm more used to it. Those are, I've always wanted to, and I had an opportunity, I couldn't make it happen. I've always wanted and been told that you have to go to a game at West Point in October. It's it's something that's on my list.
It's funny you said that. That's the only actual campus I've ever been to. Well, I went to see West Point in Temple there. Actually, it was on Halloween.
Oh, wow.
1987, and it was beautiful up there. It's right on the Hudson River. The leaves were changing.
Yeah, no, I am going to get there eventually. I have never been to a game at the Big House in Ann Arbor, and I probably never will for security reasons. We will take a break. John Bacon will join us at the top of the next hour to talk about Jim Harbaugh. We're continuing with your phone calls at 855-242-7285. Welcome back. Let's get back to the calls, and Ron is up next in California. Hello, Ron. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Paul. Listen, yesterday I was so discombobulated when I was talking to you. I don't know what I said. But you asked me about the time that Y.A. Tittle lost his pants.
Right.
And let me set the scene for you. First of all, it's a night game against Ole Miss or Mississippi State. Y.A. Tittle was running down the sideline with the ball on the opposite side of him against the field. The player grabbed him by the pants Wyatt Tittle was holding the ball under his left arm. The player was hanging on for dear life. Wyatt Tittle, and his pants was being tugged down. So Wyatt was grabbing his pants with his other hand, trying to keep his pants up. But finally, we got down around his knees, and he tripped and fell. So, and that was a pretty funny scene. But anyway, that was what I should have said yesterday. And secondly, I was talking about politics. I didn't mean you was talking about politics. I meant that some of the callers.
No, that's listen. I didn't understand it either. I do apologize for. I mainly wanted to communicate to you that even though politics have probably never been more conversational in this country or more polarizing,
exactly.
It's never our intent to talk about it. Nor do I want to shy away from it if somebody has an opinion.
Right, but after what I thought was that your screeners would screen that sort of thing out, but after having gone through the screeners, I realized that that's not a possibility. So that was the only thing, and it's just a few. That's all, and that's the end of it. I have nothing else to say except that I do enjoy your show, and keep up the good work.
Ron, thank you very much. Appreciate it. The Swallows come yet?
They don't. Let's see, March, April. It's about the time of the year. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But you have to, and there are people that go down to the Mission and stand around and look. But they usually show up. They don't show up at the Mission. They show up under the roofs of buildings. Building their nests. They go back. They go back to their old nests that they had before.
That's very cool. Very famous event. The Swallows at San Juan.
I'd sing that song for you, but my voice is loud.
No, I understand. I thank you so much for the call.
Well,
Be well. We go from California to Connecticut. Ed is next.
I don't know why. I felt it coming. When you say California too, and then you hesitate because you're just wondering what you're going to get. But you push the button anyway. That's what I love about it. I mean, you may get greatness, like I-Man, or you may get... But today, I have to answer one question. Actually, the question came up, the greatest running back. And once again, how many years do you want to go?
Ed, with you, let's use 100 as the cutoff.
Okay, I saw Jim Brown.
Yeah, I never saw him play, but it would be hard to argue with Jim Brown.
I saw him play. The man wasn't inhuman. I mean, up there at Syracuse, and then when he became a pro, and I'm a fan of Herschel. I mean, absolutely. But Jim Brown, and he quit early, like you were talking yesterday. He took a movie role, and he sort of liked that better than getting banged around, I guess. But I think he was also one of the world's best lacrosse players.
Yeah, no, he's regarded as maybe the best lacrosse player of all time.
Right. I mean, the man had a body like you just wouldn't forget. But I'm getting back to one thing though, because you don't like to, go back, and I haven't really been too sharp this week. But what you did for me last Friday was just one of the nicest things. And maybe I'm carrying on like a Phyllis. Going too long. But you guys really, with me, hit a home run. And
Ed, listen, we joke around. Sometimes we can be certain ways, but I think what everyone here, and I have very little to do with this show other than I try to get here on time, but John and Mark and so many other people behind the scenes, people that you don't ever see, did want to pay tribute to you because we all love you and we appreciate you, and you mean a great deal to people that you've never met and some that you've had the good fortune of getting to know.
Well, thank God when I listen to you. I'm very familiar with the old Finebaum 24-hour rule. And my wife kids me.
We all kid you, Ed. Hey, unfortunately, we're out of time. We will be back. John Bacon on why Michigan fans are so.
I'm Andy Katz from ESPN, along with my co-host Rick Klein of ABC News on the latest edition of Capital Games.
we're going to be joined by North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper to discuss HB2. We're also going to dissect the new Nike ad called Equality.
Garth Davis, the director of Line.
The story was just so powerful, people connected with it.
Viggo Mortensen.
It's one of those movies that when it finishes, you go, now what's going to happen?
The Oscars are coming, and Cinephile will be there. Get all the details at Cinephile, the Adnan Virk movie podcast. Available now on the ESPN app and iTunes. The NBA All-Star Game this Sunday.
Here's Curry behind the back, half-court heave on its way, and he hits it!
Coverage begins Sunday at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.